Welcome to the Kansas OER Summit. This session is on OER 101, getting started with open educational resources. Our presenters today, we're going to introduce ourselves. Ruth, you want to get us started?
Of course. I'm Ruth Monyer, she, hers. I'm a learning outreach librarian at Pittsburgh State University.
Hi, I'm Mindy Ternary. I'm an associate professor of English at Butler Community College, and I'm also the chair of our textbook affordability team.
Oh, sorry, I almost forgot myself. I'm Jennifer Persley, faculty development specialist at Pittsburgh State University. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, include your institution, position, experience with OER. Today, we're going to talk about what is OER, where can you find it, what license considerations you should be aware of, and how OER can work for you. We'll also locate and implement OER in a course, and we'll do so through Dr. Whibble's journey.
Okay, that takes it to me. So to start us off, let's just take it back to the basics. What is OER? And in a nutshell, OER stands for Open Educational Resources. And honestly, chances are you've probably used these before in your classroom, and you may just not be aware of it. That website, that video, that worksheet, all of those might potentially be open educational resources. And they're honestly fairly easy to find, as we'll find out when we kind of point out some areas to look for them later in the presentation. But the kicker is you must make sure that they are openly licensed, and we'll talk about that more later. One thing to make note of is that, honestly, we're not going to delve into open pedagogy in this particular presentation. We're just going to keep it at the level of OER, or Open Educational Resources. Okay. And one of the beautiful things about this is that because it is open and for some of the resources, you have the ability to edit them, you have the ability to kind of control for rigor, purpose, and other factors, which you don't always have the chance to do when you are dealing with someone else's work or with publishing. So it's as involved as you really want to make it. So as will be discussed on the next slide, there are 3 levels of OER usage that you should be aware of. The first level is adoption. And adoption is the, most efficient, least effort-filled way of using OER. And this really is where you go and you find someone else's materials that are openly licensed, and then you use them in the classroom. Now, again, you must make sure that it's openly licensed, and you would use the same licensing when you use it in your own classroom. Now, I'm going to keep mentioning licensing quite a bit, but don't worry, Ruth is actually going to go over these later in the presentation. Okay. Now, the second one that you need to know about is adaptation, and that's somewhere between the extreme, just picking someone else's work and creating something original. Now, in adaptation, it's a little more time consuming, but it does allow you to change things. If something doesn't quite fit, or you want to make some edits, or you want to update it, that's what adaptation is for. And some works their licensing allows for what's called remixing. And you can, mix things together, change, make edits. And in many cases, you'll either have to use the same license or create a new license for it. And on the extreme edge is I want to create something completely new on my own and make that openly licensed. Now, I think we've all at some point created materials on our own, either for a class or for a presentation. The biggest difference is that to make it open an OER, it needs to be openly licensed and available to the public. Right? Next slide. Okay. So to this point, we've talked about all these things. The only thing that really makes a difference between OER and other materials is really the licensing. But there's a few things that you want to keep in mind that OER is not. Um, so the first thing that you need to know is it's not just anything that is apparently free or just out there to the public. As we know, websites are open to the public, but those could be copyrighted. So we're looking specifically for materials that are openly licensed. Okay, if you can go back for just a second. You're perfectly fine. Another thing to keep in mind is that if it falls under fair use laws, that kind of 20% or less, then it is copyrighted and you want to avoid using that, at least in an OER sense. So you've got to watch out for subscription services. Yes, they're cheaper, but they are not open and non-copyrighted, or their licensing doesn't allow for that. So be careful of what you're looking for and watch for those licenses. Okay. All right. So now that we have a little bit of an idea about what OER is, now it's time to think about, well, why OER when you can go and find a published work, when you can find that inclusive access material? Why go OER? Okay. Well, a few things to keep in mind is that, well, one, it definitely reduces costs. In many cases, the material might be for a very low cost, or more often than not, for no cost at all. And of course, you can pass those savings on to your students. And when students save money, some of the kind of ancillary benefits are things like they might take more classes, or you can market your class and sell it in a way that if they have a choice between your class and another, I don't know about you, but I would always pick the class that had the cheaper book. So all of these things can potentially lead to increased retention, and it could reduce workload on faculty as well. If you're anything like me and you've ever tried to make a published work fit for your classroom, there's a little bit more tap dancing that I have to do than just using my own materials, or finding those that work for my class and mixing them together. So it does save you on some workload, and it helps you match course outcomes a little bit more closely. Because every university and every college is different, we want to make sure that obviously it is meeting student needs as well as the course needs. Now, for administrators and faculty, again, it helps you meet those course outcomes. And especially if you have certain, authors or works or time periods that you have to address, this helps you really target your information. And it helps protect you from copyright infringement, because you don't have to deal with the fair use gray areas. It's open and available to you, and you can use as much as you want, so long as it allows it, of course. And one thing that I really appreciate about OER is that it allows for ADA accommodations. So you can set it so it has things like no caps, you can adjust the fonts potentially, you can have reader functions. So there's a lot of extra stuff that you can add to OERs potentially that you just can't do when you have the brick, right? The brick of the book. So it allows for that. And honestly, it allows for a little bit more creativity. You're not trying to sell it to anybody but your students. So you don't have to follow their rules. You pick what works for you. Okay. All right, before I shift to Ruth and she goes over OER copyright a little bit more and how to start thinking about these things, I'd like for you to take just a quick moment to think about, why should you use, or why should you encourage the use of OER? And I've offered some questions here. And if you have any good ideas, go ahead and throw those into the chat. We're actually going to be monitoring that, and we'll do our best to address any questions. But things like, what are you looking for? What do your students need? And what type of OER would work best for you? Adoption, adaptation, or original creation?
So as you're thinking about what might be best for you, adoption, or creation, we all are at different parts of our OER journey, and that's great. So, but beyond this session, if you're looking for assistance, because we know this is a moment and sometimes we come back to different spots in our journey, who can you turn to after this session? As we mentioned in the opening keynote, you can go to the K-Board OER Steering Committee. They have great resources. They're always happy to help, and they're willing to do it. Sometimes it can be a little, I know, anxiety maybe inducing to reach out to somebody you don't know. So if you're looking at a more local level, look at your institution. Usually your library will have they could have a whole librarian department, like a scholarly comm librarian, or a librarian in general to assist you. They're generally good with finding out things for copyright, as well as public domain and general places to look for OER. So it's a good place to go. Your teaching and learning center or your faculty development on campus, from either if that's importing into your learning management system, making sure that things are working, or in general help, they are there for you. Also check, a lot of campuses at this point have an OER committee, whether that's steering committee or otherwise, and there might be particular avenues or advice that they have for you. Whether that means there's an open brand for implementing OER or other things. You want to seek those out as well. If you have sought those out or you're looking for additional, you want to learn on your own, you learn best from others. As mentioned earlier by Tara Labar, we have the OEN trainers here in Kansas, so you can reach out to those, which is a part of the Open Education Network, so they can be assistance to you. There's also other OER conferences and networks. So if you're a person who wants to hear what other people are doing, how that might help you in implementation, the Open Educational Conference, which is in the fall, and the Open Education Network both have YouTube channels. So the Open Education Conference, the ones that have previously presented and not our current, like past presentations, are available on YouTube for your viewing. So if you want to check out on other people, what they're doing. And then the Open Education Network has the same thing with conferences. They also have open office hours to discuss different topics. So if you're looking for a particular option. The other option, if you're like, I just need to lurk and see, Twitter is very active. And so you can lurk Twitter without having an account. If you're not on Twitter, look for the hashtag OER and it will have other options. So there's a variety of assistance you can look for at your institutional level, globally, individuals, and at the state level. So find what works for you. And of course, you can always reach out to myself, Jennifer, or Mindy. We're happy to help you as well. Next slide. So we're going to talk a little bit about identifiers of OER. And so these are the screens that you see on the screen above you. A lot of times you'll see this icon versus, or you'll see it, as you might notice at the beginning of our presentation, the CC BY or the CC BY S without the icon. And this identifies that it is a Creative Commons license. And so you can see that both of this. So this is going to be a brief overview of the licensing. There is a more in-depth Creative Commons licensing session tomorrow morning if you're looking for that. So if we're starting with the photo, and Jennifer is going to helpfully point for us, we're going to start at the top one. The CC BY has the little person in a circle icon. This means a person, so you're attributing. So somebody has created something and you need to attribute or acknowledge that they have worked on it and that you are building upon it. We should all be very familiar with this. It's just like normal citation practices, and so we don't plagiarize. So that's very common. This is one of the most open of the licenses to have available. If we continue down, we see CC BY share alike. So share alike has the same kind of reverse arrow or the loop arrow, almost like making a complete circle. And so this means that you are citing who, the original one, the BY, the human, and then you're going to use the exact same license that they have. So you're sharing under the same license. That's what the essay is. So if you see this, you're going to share with the same one. If we continue down, we see CC by non-commercial or CC by NC. And the NC, non-commercial, is the money sign with a slash through it. And that means you cannot make profit off of the work. So you can't use it for a commercial purpose, get money off of it. And again, you do need to acknowledge where it is coming from. If we go to the top, we have CC by non-commercial share alike. And so this is, you need to cite it with the by. You have the non-commercial. So again, you cannot be making money off of it. So you need to give credit, you can't make money, and you need to have it under the exact same license. So you need to be sharing under this license. If we continue down, we have CC by non-derivative or ND. So this means, again, you're going to cite and you cannot make modifications to the work. So it's got to be this, maintain its consistency. And then we go to the next one, which is CC by non-commercial non-derivative. So the non-derivative being equals, it's got to be the same comparable item. So again, this you have to say who it's by, cite. You can't make money and you can't make changes to the work. We did this in order of least restrictive to most restrictive of the licensing. Please note these are still more open than traditional copyright laws. So those are the things. A couple of things to consider. Are there any questions on that before I move? So you'll see the icons and you'll see the options. There are ways to choose. When you are selecting OER or choosing to license your work under OER, we're going to start with considering. Consider who is the author, just like you would any other material that you're bringing into your classroom. What are their credentials? You're the expert, right? You know your material, you know your curriculum. Bring that same sort of thing when you're going and evaluating OER. There's always a purpose for something, but you're probably not going to maybe want to cite a sixth grader's work unless you're in education showing the work of sixth graders as your final project. So consider the author. There are textbooks out there that are by people in our field. So just consider the author, what is their purpose? Consider the ease of navigation. And this kind of also goes with accessibility. We know students in our classes are not always using a computer, they're sometimes using a mobile device. How easy is that to work? Is it, maybe the format isn't the great, is it under a license where you can maybe change that format to make it easier for people to use? And then also the accessibility, again, cannot harp on this enough, make sure you consider that user experience for all of your students and that they're all going to be able to access that. And then the quality of information, is it meeting your needs? Is it being truthful? Again, just consider, this is a lot, feels like kind of like a checklist. If you need assistance in considering, there are rubrics attached and this PowerPoint will be available to you. So you can open that up and kind of run through that list if you want more assistance and when you're evaluating the OER and what licenses are available. So it's just ways to assist. I'm gonna pass it on to Jennifer because I don't see anything in the chat at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. At this point, we're going to change gears a little bit and we're going to look at locating OER and implementing it in your class. And before we do that, I want to introduce you to Dr. Wibble. He is an economics professor. He currently uses a traditional textbook in his Econ 101 class. He's satisfied with the text, but the students are struggling to access it. After discussing with the students, Dr. Wibble is concerned that the text is too expensive and he wants to find a low or no cost solution. He knows a little bit about OER and he decides he might look to see if anything's available. It is a lower level course and he's told that there's a lot of resources that might be available for it. So he turns to our friend Google. He Googles economics textbooks, OER, and he finds an overwhelming amount of content. So frustrated a bit, he then decides to turn to someone at his institution. And as Ruth mentioned, these people at your institutions could reside in the library or Center for Teaching and Learning. It could be your colleague next door, but his OER advocate on campus shared with him a pile of resources. And these are a few of the popular repositories that are available for you to search for open materials. If you have a copy of this presentation, it is posted on the Kansas OER Summit scheduler. These guys are hyperlinked, you can explore. There are lots of other repositories for OER resources. If you like, post your favorite in the chat. We've got a few on here, the Open Textbook Library, OpenStax. This little icon is for Canvas Commons for those Canvas users. And also the Mason OER MetaFinder. And this is the first place that Dr. Whibble's gonna explore. The Mason OER MetaFinder, affectionately known as MOM, will search through 22 different repositories, and we see them listed over here on the right-hand side. I'm going to go ahead and while we're here, you can check off which repositories you want to use. I'm actually going to uncheck all the ones for deeper search. And it's going to allow us to go through and search some of these popular repositories. He can either come through and search the full record, that's the entire text, for keywords that he's interested in, perhaps economics, or he can just limit it to the title by entering in this field. He's going to enter economics to be the title of the textbook. He can also search for author and even do date restrictions if he likes. He's going to choose 2019 because he wants a current text. From here, we're going to go ahead and search. It's going to search through several of the repositories, so it might take it a little bit to actually return the results. It's actually currently still working. If you see the search summary over here at the top left, it's going to probably continue searching for a while, but we can explore some of the other features while we're here. It's a tabbed interface here across the top. We can filter through all of these results. There's also a visual indication of what it's returning as well. We can search through videos or entire courses. I'm going to go back to topics, and we can refine our search by authors if we like, publications, document type. And here we know that Dr. Whibble is looking for a textbook, so I'm going to go ahead and select there. And from here, he has lots of options to explore. I'm going to go ahead and click into the Principles of Economics, the second edition. And this is a textbook that Dr. Whibble is exploring. He's going to review a lot of those items that Ruth discussed, accessibility, ease of use. Obviously, he's going to look at the content as well, grammar usage, punctuation, all of that good stuff. He might look at assessments that are within it, and he self-checks as he's here. And he's happy with this textbook, and he wants to know a little bit more about it as far as, can he use it in his class? Where is this open license that Ruth's been talking about? And if you click up here on the title of the text, we'll jump back out to that main page. It shows a little bit of book details, a summary. There's our authors that we can review. And down at the bottom, we'll see that CC BY license. So he can use this in his class. He just needs to provide attribution. Additionally, there's lots of different formats for this textbook. They can view it online in PDF format or even on an iPad or a Kindle. So those are helpful formats to him as well. There's also some instructor resources if we click the tab across the top. Right now they're locked because he is not logged in. If he creates an instructor account, he'll be able to access lots of resources for this material. There's also student resources that students can download guides and items to help them. Okay. But at this point, he's found a textbook that he's pretty happy with, but he's curious. I used to order a textbook. The textbook was supplied by our bookstore, and they carried it in, and they brought it to class, and they took it home. Now, how exactly is Dr. Whibble going to get his text to his students? Well, here is where your learning management system can do a lot of help for us. We can leverage it whether using Canvas, Blackboard, D2L. you'll be able to use tools inside your learning management system to share out the resource that you found. These are just a few examples on how you could add your resource to your Canvas or Blackboard course. You could provide a link in your syllabus to the textbook. We saw that option to view online. We could add it there. If it's offered in various formats, we could upload those to our learning management system. We can create a page here's an example of the online textbook page in a course. It's got a link to the live textbook, and then also other formats that are available, the PDF, the MOBI file, the EPUB file. You can also add a link directly to a module. So if you've got a module structure for your course and you're looking at chapter 2, you can put a link directly to that chapter 2 of the textbook for the students to be able to read. Additionally, once you have the textbook selected, you could go through and find other files to use in the course that are open, other videos and images to supplement the course that are open as well. In some cases, there are entire course packs where you can use that has a lot of information to share with your students. Maybe there's PowerPoint slides, test banks, sort of all that stuff that we kind of miss that publishers provide, sometimes are available as course packs. Let me take you to those instructor resources that were available in OpenStax. So we were here and Dr. Whibble was not logged in before, but here if we are logged in as an instructor, here I'm in my account, I can then download, this is that Canvas export shell. There's also one available from D2L and Blackboard. If we scroll down a little bit farther, that's going to be sort of the one-stop shop. I'm going to put the course all in and ready to go. Down below, we can look at individual items. There's PowerPoint slides that you can download. There's test banks that you can download, solution guides, videos, polling questions. So all sorts of materials are available with this particular textbook. That's not always the case, but for this one, done very well. If he wants to see what this course export looks like, he can go ahead and just download this course export pack. You'll see it's downloaded down in my browser here. Then he can go, this is the Canvas export pack. He can jump over to Canvas. And if he needs help creating a course, he can contact someone in instructional support for him, or a course designer might be able to help as well. But in your Canvas course, he goes down to settings and he imports course content, checks content type as Canvas course export package, and he's got to go find that downloaded file. We'll select all content and import. That's going to be as easy as it's going to be. Now this import is relatively large, so it's going to take a while to run. I've already ran it here and I want to show you what he gets with just a few clicks. He gets a hodgepodge of instructor resources, quite lengthy. I'm going to scroll past them for a second because I want to get to the student side of things, looking at our clock. There's student resources available, but let's look at a standard module. So here's our chapter 1 module. It has learning objectives in it. It has a reading assignment that links out to the chapter 1 of the textbook. It's got those PowerPoint slides for chapter 1. It's got a reading quiz, short answer questions, discussion questions, even options to use for discussion questions. And it kind of proceeds from there. So that's kind of our module setup that then repeats for each chapter. Scroll up here. And at the very beginning in the get started of the instructor resources, there's sort of a cartridge overview. That's what all he got with this import. Here's a little table diagram that's helpful, but the cartridge resources include video guides, reading assignments, lecture slides, polling questions, reading quizzes, discussion questions, even GeoGebra activities, and test banks. There's 500 questions in the test bank. So if he's not happy with the ones that are assigned in the quizzes, there's more out there available in the test banks. So really, Dr. Whipple gets quite a bit for his import pack here. Now, if he doesn't have to use all of it, we've shown before that he could just have uploaded the PowerPoint slides or any of the resources, but viewing what's in this export pack is pretty helpful. Well, thank you for going on Dr. Whipple's journey with us. At this point, if you have any questions, if you'll post them to the chat, we'll do our best to get them answered.
Jennifer, our first question that we had come in, we talked about device friendly, but also accessibility for screen readers. Can you elaborate on for OER materials being a screen reader accessibility?
It depends on the material itself. When you say OER materials, we're talking about a pretty broad audience of materials and creators and how they're working. Some of the larger repositories, like the one that, my apologies, the OpenStax that we created, that we looked at, and the materials that were created in conjunction with it, are going to be pretty accessible because they've been pretty well vetted. There'll be other resources that are created and not quite as well vetted. In such case, they may not be as accessible. So you'll have to do your due diligence as far as reviewing those materials for accessibility, looking for those hyperlinks, looking for closed captioning on videos. Does that help?
I think so. If it doesn't help the individual who wrote that question, hopefully they'll re-respond in chat. And do remember, depending on the license, you can then modify the content to make it more accessible and reshare. Somebody else asked about the citation, and I believe we answered that with the citation for the Principle of Economics book that you showed, because it wasn't shown directly on the screen, but we were showing the import. And the import with that, I imagined, and I haven't verified, but that it had asked for the CC by 4.0 attribution. And I imagine when we imported it, it was shown on everything as they asked, because we were importing directly from OpenStax. Can you confirm that?
I wouldn't say it's on everything. I would probably say it's on the home page or one of those introduction pages in the module. So that attribution is probably there. Also, if you put the link inside of the course, that landing page for that textbook actually has that CC by on it, which should be sufficient there for attribution. But yes, within the course pack, ideally somewhere in there, I'm sure, is an attribution, and providing it for students as well would be helpful there. But they'll see it when they visit that textbook.
Somebody else asked, is all imported materials ADA compliant?
All imported materials, the ones that we imported, I can't necessarily speak to that. It would take quite a bit to run an accessibility check on it, and I haven't done that yet for that particular course. But if we talk about in general, I would say not necessarily so. Again, we just have to do our due diligence. Anybody else want to chime in?
I'll add something to that. I will say from the faculty angle, I find that most of the materials that I find from the OER databases are generally close to either being accessible or are accessible. You'll certainly want to run it through your learning management system. If you're using Canvas or another system, they tend to have accessibility checkers that you can run it through. And really, this is something that you would want to partner up with your educational technology department. Usually they're a little bit more versed in universal design and the technologies that are compatible with screen readers. It's not all of them, but this is really where I would say a partnership with EdTech would really help with that.
And I also want to point out what Lee said in the chat. For screen readers, you can download a PDF and then increase the ADA compliance of the document so it's more usable in that capacity. And again, I would like to note that accessibility one way doesn't always mean accessibility all the way. So just be aware, as Jennifer mentioned, do your due diligence. And it does, as somebody mentioned in the chat, it really depends on how the original file was uploaded and what versions you have available. Sometimes you'll have a lot of publishing formats available for you to choose from, and sometimes you'll have one option, depending on the database or the repository and the material as it was submitted. Does not mean that you cannot make changes, just depends on that licensing. Somebody also, a new question, if you choose to select certain materials and resources from OER materials, would that still be adopting or would it be adapting?
Let's see. Hold on, let me mull that around for just a second. Okay, so if you choose certain materials and resources from the,
I think
okay, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
It depends. It depends if you are changing it. Like in this PowerPoint, you can see like we have pulled things and you can see the licensing attribution underneath the images. And so we pulled those and we adapted because they're now in a compilation. If we are adapting something and like we already had this PowerPoint that was already made and we were just using that, that would be more of adopting than adapting because we didn't make changes. Mindy or Jennifer, did you want to add in?
Really, it just depends on how you're using it. And like she said, are you making changes? Are you cutting things out? Are you presenting it in a new way or a new format? All of those, it would be safer to say it's an adaptation. But if you're just kind of, you found something, it's beautiful, you love it, you plug it into Canvas or your LMS, then that would be more adoption.
Yeah, not a problem. I would, we didn't really talk a lot about it, but I would also say sometimes I've heard of instructors doing it where they simply like change names to be more inclusive. So instead of always being like Mary, Joe, Bill, Bob, maybe there's a Jose, maybe there's other names that are more reflective of the students within. And so that would, even though that might be small changes throughout the component that they're using, that has a major change to be more reflective of their students. And that is an adaptation of the original material. So we talked about images, but there's also other things like that you can be doing. And I've also heard of people in a more, I think we have some K-12 individuals who've done that with like worksheets. If the images are not as reflective of their student populations as they would like, if it's OER, they just change out that image to be more reflective of those who they are serving, or again, be more diverse in general and aware of that. Did we miss any questions in the chat?
I don't think so. Oh, here's one.
Are there resources available that evaluate the quality of OERs using a framework? How can I locate and filter the highest quality OERs in my discipline? So on that evaluation page, there are those frameworks that were under the evaluation, which we didn't link out to in the presentation today because we want to make sure we had plenty of time for questions. There are the faculty guide for OER, the OER starter kit has an example, and the open textbook review criteria, all kind of framework to evaluate. And again, a lot of this is stuff that you might have internalized as you choose anything for curriculum. On filtering and locating the highest quality of OERs in my discipline, this goes back to what Mindy said at the very beginning of the presentation. It depends on your purpose and what you are looking for as to best answer that question, because if you're looking for images, that's a much different answer than if you're looking for textbooks or PowerPoints or supplemental materials.
I do believe the OEN also has some reviews for quite a few OERs.
Yes, and we're calling it OEN because that's the Open Textbook Network.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, in the chat link, that would be the link, which I'll reshare in the chat. That would be the Open Textbook Library. And if you go there, that you can see who it's written by, and you can see who, like there's reviews from other people in the field. And these are not like our traditional academic book reviews. These are reviews on usability and those things. So it talks about it. They're significantly shorter. And that was also, there's been a couple, if you're looking to review those in Kansas, there's a couple of opportunities coming up that Tara mentioned that might be available. I'm on that website right now and they said coming soon. So if you're interested in things like recipe development and modification, a textbook and lab manual. So that's coming and it says it's going to be published by the University of Arkansas. So you can see some of those are there. And there's a lot to look at in the sort of situation. Also, I'm not sure what your discipline is, so I can't gear you one way or another. Certain disciplines are more common or more likely or have had more work in open done for them than others. Otherwise, it might be you that could be doing more and writing more. And if you're interested in that, there's an open pedagogy session next tomorrow, I think in the morning.
Yeah, so that was actually my question. I was just, so I'm looking at the Spanish resources and it's pretty voluminous. And so that's why I was kind of wondering like, okay, you know, how would I filter that down to some degree, but I like that. I see the reviews that you're talking about. So I think that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. And I would also say, depending on which sort of repository you're using, grade level is, or target audience level is
Right.
another super helpful review because obviously you're teaching much differently for elementary students than you are somebody who's a graduate level.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah. So I'll just really get into the filters there. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, and somebody shared a link in the chat that you might want to grab. I do not speak Spanish,
All
so
right.
Espanol.
Abierto.
Thank you.
Cool.
So that
All
looks like a
right.
great resource. So
Yeah, it
thank
does.
you for sharing in the chat. We super appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you.
And with that, I think we are at time. We'll give you guys plenty of time to get to your next session. We appreciate you attending this one and enjoy the rest of your summit.
Yes, thank you.